You've probably heard of them, right? The Divine Nine. We're talking about 9 historically Black Greek letter organizations that have been, for well over a century, a real cornerstone of American culture. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into their powerful history and their incredible enduring legacy.
And this quote, wow, it's from a founder of the very first Black intercollegiate fraternity. And it just gets right to the heart of it all. See, from day one, this was never about just being a social club. No way. They were born with a much, much bigger mission.
So here they are. These are the 9 organizations that make up the National Pan-Hellenic Council, what we know as the Divine Nine. Now, they were founded between 1906 and 1963, and as you look at this list, you're probably going to notice a pattern, right? Look at how many times Howard University pops up. It was this incredible, historic hub of Black intellectual life, and just so happened to be the birthplace for a lot of these groups. But a list of names and dates, that really only tells us the what. We're here to get into the why. Why did these organizations even need to exist in the first place? And what is it about their mission that makes them so incredibly important, even now? All right, to really get this, we've got to go back in time. We're talking the turn of the 20th century. This was an America just defined by intense racial discrimination. And it was right there, in those fires of exclusion, that a whole new kind of institution was forged. I mean, just try to put yourself in their shoes for a second. Imagine you've worked so hard to get into college, often a prominently white institution, and you get there only to find yourself totally, completely isolated. You're barred from all the existing all-white fraternities and sororities. So what do? Well, they did what their ancestors have been doing for generations. They built their own spaces for support for community. And look, these organizations, these BGLOs, they weren't created in a vacuum, not at all. Think of them as the next step, the next evolution in this long, proud tradition of Black self-organization. It's a line you can trace all the way back to mutual aid societies in the 1700s. That same spirit of we've got each other's backs, it just found a new, really powerful home on college campuses. So this is something we absolutely have to understand. Their very existence was a political statement. Think about it. In a society that was literally designed to exclude you, creating an organization dedicated to Black excellence, to Black leadership, that wasn't just a social thing. Oh no, it was a radical act of defiance. And that brings us right to the core of their identity, because from the very, very beginning, their mission went so far beyond just, parties or campus events. These organizations were built for one thing above all else: service. Academic excellence, social uplift, community engagement, leadership. I mean, these are the pillars, right? This is the foundation that has defined the Divine Nine for over 100 years. The goal was always so much bigger than just college. It was about creating a pipeline of leaders who would then go out and lift up their entire communities. And you can see this mission of service in action right from the jump. It's not just talk. The story of how Delta Sigma Theta was founded, it's just a perfect example of this. So get this. It's 1913. There are 22 women at Howard University, and they feel like their sorority is, just a little too focused on social stuff. They wanted more. They wanted a real, deep commitment to social activism and public service. So what did they do? They broke away and founded Delta Sigma Theta. And this was a huge moment. It was a shift from just organizing campus life to actively trying to change society itself. Okay, so this incredible commitment to community, to uplift, it started to create these really unique and vital cultural spaces on college campuses, especially at what we call PWIs, or predominantly white institutions. And that's how we get something known as the Yard. Now, don't just think of a physical place, okay? It's so much more than that. It's the cultural hub. It's the network of support that BGLOs build, creating a space to be seen on campuses where Black students could otherwise feel completely invisible. Yeah, and I love how Dr. Heather Moore Robertson puts it. She sees the Yard as a form of civic engagement. It really does create a home away from home, a deep sense of belonging, a critical connection point for students who are often underrepresented. It's the kind of environment that lets them not just survive, but truly thrive, both in their studies and in their social lives. And this right here, this is one of the biggest differences you'll see when you compare BGLOs to many of their white counterparts. This is not just a four-year college experience, not even close. The commitment to service, the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood, they are absolutely for life, and they're powered by super active alumni chapters all across the globe. Okay, but to get the full, honest picture here, we do have to talk about a more complex and sometimes pretty controversial tradition. And that's the new member intake process, which a lot of people know as pledging. Yeah, the whole practice of pledging is a really deeply debated topic. On the one hand, you have people who argue that a tough, rigorous process is what builds those unbreakable, lifelong bonds. They say it weeds out people who aren't serious and makes sure only the most dedicated folks earn their letters. But then, on the other hand, you have the very real, very severe risks that come with hazing. We're talking physical, mental, and legal dangers that can literally threaten the members and the organizations themselves. So, what about that central argument? The one that says pledging builds stronger long-term commitment? Well, what does the data say? A study back in 2012 actually looked into this very question. Researchers wanted to know, were members who went through a pledge process more likely to stay active as alumni? And the result? They found no statistically significant relationship.
But look, regardless of those internal debates, the impact of these organizations is just undeniable. I mean, the sheer scale of their influence is truly staggering when you step back and look at it. Let's just talk numbers for a second. Combined, the Divine Nine have initiated over 2.5 million members worldwide. Just think about that. That is a massive global network of people, all connected by these shared principles and experiences. And when I say global, I mean it. This isn't just an American thing. These organizations have chapters in at least 35 different countries. So they're out there doing the work, engaging in service and community uplift on a truly international scale. And what all of this has created, ultimately, is this incredibly powerful incubator for Black leadership. You think about someone like Martin Luther King Jr., who was an alpha, all the way to Vice President Kamala Harris, who's an AKA. I mean, Divine Nine members have shaped literally every field you can imagine, both in America and far beyond. So it all started with a small group of students who were just looking for a community, for a place to belong in the face of so much exclusion. And from that, a global movement was born. It's really a legacy of building something powerful, something lasting, simply out of necessity. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. As we all face the new challenges of today, how will this incredible century-old tradition of service and resistance continue to shape our future?